One of the things in the Old Testament that God really cared about that may seem insignificant to us was having honest and just scales. God cares about what is equitable, what is true, what is honest, what is right. And he deals with those who would use false scales. In the Old Testament, the scales would weigh out the proper commerce, trade value, buy and sell, exchange that people would have, two parties would have. And God did not want one party to be robbed. This today, as we do our devotional, I want to talk to you about setting the scale properly. And what I mean by that is that I think there are things that are very important to God that have to be equally important to us. And there are things that are not as important to God that we have to let go of and not make as big a deal on. The thing is not that we would assume what is good or right, but what I'm saying is we need to bring to the same level of importance those things that God cares about. For example, one of the Ten Commandments says, take a day of rest, the Sabbath. For God, the Sabbath is highly important, but for many Christians, it doesn't reach that level of focus, obedience, devotion, sacrifice. And so I want us to get to a place where we would move up what is important to the same level that God sees it. Let me give you a couple of examples before I talk to you about what is important. One thing that's important. Have you ever worked on your checking account, your checkbook, reconciling it? And what your ledger says is different than what the bank says, what your online statement says, what your paper statement says. And what I want you to know is that your statement is probably right. Most times it's right. In fact, once I thought I was way off and I thought it was the bank's fault. And after an hour of arguing on the phone, as I'm telling them they're making a mistake, I found the mistake I made. Another example. Do you have a scale at home to check your weight? Have you ever weighed yourself on your scale, that $29.99 one you bought at Target or Costco? And when you go to the doctor's office, they have a scale. Does your scale and their scale match? I don't know about you, but whenever I go for my physical, the doctor's scale is like 5 or 6 pounds heavier than what my scale says. But it's the doctor's scale of higher quality that is most likely right. Well, I want to read to you a verse that talks about something God finds very important. And that may surprise us, but we need to get on the same page with God about it. It's in Matthew chapter 5, verse 23 and 24. And Jesus here in the Sermon on the Mount is talking about, you've heard it said, do not commit adultery. But I say to you this. You've heard it said, an eye for an eye. But I say this. Now, he's talking about do not murder. And he's talking about, you've heard it said, do not murder, but he said, do not hate your brother. Do not call someone a fool. Do not have rage within your heart towards someone. And then he says this, verse 23, therefore, if you are offering your gift at the altar and there remember that your brother or sister has something against you, leave your gift there in front of the altar first, go and be reconciled to them, then come and offer your gift. How about that? That we often think there's nothing more important than worshiping God. We worship God first. And Jesus is saying, as you come with your sacrifice, as you come with your offering, as you come with your worship, leave it there if there's a problem between you and someone else. Leave it there if there's a block between you and someone else, because the block between you and someone else may create a block in intimacy with me. I'm blown away because I would have put worship here and maybe working on relationships here. And Jesus says, get that relationship worked on and then worship the Father. And Jesus said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. These two commandments are the greatest commandments, and everything else hangs on them. Another place in the Bible it says, how can you say you love God but that you hate the person he made? So what a mind bender, what a priority shift, what a setting the scales. That scale looks different than my scale. That I would actually stop my faith act to work on forgiveness and reconciliation so I could have the closest possible relationship with the Father. Nothing blocking that, nothing hindering that, nothing he sees as being off. It's not about being perfect. It is about, though, perfectly following what he's put in place as the highest priorities. I want to change my scale to be true to what's important to God. I hope you do too. God bless you.